Tuck Erie and the Joel Natale Show live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. We're excited to have another one of our Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance conversations, this time with Chris Hilling. He's an agent with Hilling-Pfeffer. Chris, good to see you again, sir.
Hello, Joel. Thanks for having me.
You got it here. We're talking about life insurance, right. And it's one of those things, my personal experience is that I had someone reach out to me when I was in college just to get me thinking about it. When you think about, when was the first time you bought life insurance? How young were you?
I was in my early 20s, and I bought it when I bought my first house.
There you go.
That was before I was married or had children, those are two life events where the life insurance conversation, I think, naturally happens. But I bought a house, I had a mortgage, and I figured I better buy a term life insurance policy that would pay off this mortgage, God forbid, if something happened to me.
But it's basically an easy math equation, isn't it?
It is. That's one of the items I want to talk about is when people think about life insurance, I think two things that commonly come to mind is where do I even start? And two, it's going to be very expensive, which that doesn't have to be the case. If you're buying a very large life insurance policy with a lot of bells and whistles, yes, it can be expensive, but that's usually more of a specialty product. For the average person, it's very inexpensive. And really, when we're figuring out how much coverage you need, it's usually pretty simple. We're looking at things such as how much would it cost to pay for a funeral? How much do you owe on your house and other debts, such as a car, maybe credit cards? And what is your income that you would want to replace for your family? And I will say, because this has changed, especially since I've become a parent, if you have one of the spouses who does not work but is at home with the kids, what would it cost to pay for childcare as long as you need it? Because that is something, especially for my generation, we think about a lot and shell out a lot of money for.
You mentioned life events. Those are really critical. So your first life event was buying the house. You mentioned getting married.
Right.
And then having kids. Those are times where you really want to see what your levels are, huh?
That's right. If you are about to have one of those life events or have experienced one of those life events recently, if you already have life insurance in place, it's probably a good idea to reach out to whoever you set that up with to review things to see if you possibly need more coverage. Or if you don't have any coverage, that really is the time to start the process. That's something our agency can help you out with. We have all of the products. We have our staff there is very knowledgeable, and we work with companies like Erie Insurance where both setting up the policy is very easy, very affordable, and then heaven forbid if you ever actually have to use the insurance, you're working with a company that is very well regarded for how they handle claimants and how they pay claims.
You mentioned that business owners really need to look at life insurance. Why?
The reason it would be important for a business owner, there's a couple of different ways you can go with it, but I think in general it's not always something that's top of mind. But I look at it a couple of ways. One is if you are a business owner and something happens to you, what's going to happen the next day at the business? And, you can't replace somebody, but a cash infusion from a life insurance policy can at least provide stability and help the business move forward in whatever way they're going to.
So the business is buying insurance on those major players within the business. Wow. Okay.
Right. So, and that would be for the business owner, but it can also be for a key person. We call it key person insurance. If you have someone who is integral to your operations, and if they were suddenly gone, you would be in trouble. The life insurance policy, again, provides financial stability. The next part of that is, all right, we need to replace this key person, and that can help with that process as well, as far as hiring the right person, having the resources to do it, but also to recruit them as well. Because if it's a very senior level position, you might be bringing in somebody who's outside of our area. You might have to hire a headhunter or a recruiter. There's a lot that can go into that. And then the last part I'll mention, because we have this come up with a lot of our business owner clients, is funding buy-sell agreements. Say you have a business where there's multiple owners, one of the owners passes away unexpectedly, the business then has the funds to buy the shares from their surviving spouse. So that way the business is taken care of, and of course the surviving spouse is taken care of as well.
Do most small businesses are they thinking about this stuff, or are you providing education going in like this?
Definitely the latter.
Yeah.
If they're aware of it, it would be because maybe a prior agent worked on this for them, or if I mentioned the buy sell, you actually have to have an agreement or a contract that's put in place, so they'll be aware of it that way. But I think in general, for a lot of our small business clients, when we bring it up, that might be the first time they thought about it, or they thought about it, but they have a million other things to do, so it's been on the back burner.
Amazing. Chris Hilling is with us from Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance. And you guys have a special customer service model at Hilling-Pfeffer. I want you to talk about it. Why does that make you distinctive?
Right. So this is something we've been working on for a long time. And it really started because the owner of our agency, my dad, Alan Hilling, he's a great salesperson. He builds relationships like no one else. And he's so good at bringing them in that we needed to come up with a process to make sure that we are servicing them all properly. And, our industry is very competitive. You have a lot of options out there for your insurance. But what we try to accomplish with our customer service system is big company processes, but a small town feel. So when you call into our office, there's a team, myself as an agent, and then someone who works with me, where we are the ones servicing your policy. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to be talking to 5 or 10 different people as problems arise at insurance carriers or within the office, but you're going to be talking to the same people over and over again. You're going to get to know us, we're going to get to know you, and we're going to know things about you. Oh yeah, this business, they recently hired this person, they recently bought this special vehicle. We have those types of insights. And with our system where it's team-based, so my customers have a couple people who they always work with. My dad's customers have people they always work with. That's how we set it up for all of our agents. So again, there's a process there. What we're trying to cut down on is making sure that things get taken care of in a timely manner. They get taken care of effectively and efficiently, but we're not losing that human touch. And especially, Erie's a small town. Mm-hmm. We all know each other. We really want to lean into that with how we treat our customers.
And this is beyond claims, right? This is talking about setup or evaluation on a yearly basis or what have you, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not just claims. When a claim does happen, it's all hands on deck. We want to make sure it gets handled properly. But the quoting process, establishing your insurance, and then really, which is most of our day-to-day interactions with clients, is service issues that come up, billing, policy changes. If you're a business owner, you need a certificate of insurance, or you're doing some type of financing, a new building, new vehicle, et cetera. We want that process to be seamless, but we also want to make sure that we are building a very strong relationship with our clients. That's what our system is based on.
Always one of those happy days when the client calls and says, I bought a new truck, right?
Right.
Now
yeah.
I got to insure it.
Yeah, exactly. When our customers buy things, that means they need more insurance. So that's a happy conversation. But then there's also the tough conversations when claims happen. So from every aspect, we want to handle it very well, and we want to take care of our customers who take care of us.
Let's talk about, again, the business owners. A lot of folks use subcontractors and so on. It seems like, we need to stay on top of the paperwork when it comes to all this. Expand on that, if you would.
Right. For a long time, I thought this was a niche topic that only applied to a few people, but it seems like year after year after year, we are talking more and more about subcontractors. And for I think the easiest example to give you is a general contractor who hires subcontractors for electrical work, plumbing, HVAC, et cetera. But I've noticed over time that there's just more and more subcontractors for all types of different services. Now, when you hire a subcontractor, they are working with you, sort of for you, but they're not an employee. And that is an important distinction. For the business owner who is hiring a subcontractor, again, I'll go back to a general contractor, the whole idea is hopefully it's going to cut down on your costs because you're not employing them as a W-2 employee. Mm-hmm. And you are also setting it up where if something happens, they injure somebody on the job or their work causes an injury or property damage, that because they worked with you, but they're not directly tied to you, they have their own insurance in place to protect them and to protect you. And specifically, what business owners out there need to know is you need to collect a certificate of insurance, a current certificate of insurance from your subcontractors. You want to make sure you're getting a new copy every year at renewal, and then also that you have a signed subcontractor agreement. I just had a recent experience with it was a residential contractor where this came into play, and he really I ticked him off for a long time because I was always asking for these documents, but he said at the end of it, he goes, "Wow, I'm glad we had all this in place. When this incident happened, I knew right away we had everything we needed." Wow. So it's a way to protect yourself as the main business owner, and then two, if you've ever gone through a workers' compensation audit, which is probably my least favorite part of the job. If you have that paperwork in place, it's going to make it smoother, and also you won't have to pay on your own policy because you did not have the proper paperwork in place, because every state does it a little bit differently. But in Pennsylvania, if you hire subcontractors and you do a workers' compensation audit and you don't have that paperwork, you're going to get charged for it. So it's a way to keep your costs under control too.
I mean, you mentioned general contractors like in construction and so on, but think about it. It could be the dentist that hires a bookkeeper, may not be like a big bookkeeping firm, but just individual people to keep their books or do billing for them. You probably should really have them have their own insurance.
Yeah, you should. And I know for clerical services like that, people might kind of shake their head and say, "Nah, I don't really need it." But we see in insurance, we see crazy situations. And if you're making sure the people that you work with are insured, it's just going to gives you that extra layer of protection. And I will say too, so we talked about contractors. If you're a building owner or a landlord, same thing. You want to make sure you're getting those certificates of insurance, because if something happens, it would be their insurance instead of your insurance. And of course, if your insurance pays, it's going to come back to you one way or another when your policy renews and all of a sudden your rates go up.
Chris Hilling is with us again from Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance. Chris, I think we talked about this a little bit last month. Auto insurance is just the hot topic right now in the insurance world. And what can you tell us about the coverage options that we may or may want to engage in to maybe make things more affordable or be smarter about it, I guess?
Right. So with everything that has happened with costs going up with auto insurance the past couple of years, we see a lot of our customers and a lot of people who are calling into our office for a quote who are looking to cut costs. And sometimes that can involve cutting coverages that you might really need if you're involved in a serious accident. So where you can get some savings, if you're able to take a higher deductible, that's a really good idea, especially with how much auto parts have gone up in price. It's just, a $100 deductible, for example, on your auto policy, 10 years ago, that was more doable from a financial standpoint as far as what you pay. But now, with how much rates have gone up, you really got to look at either a $500 or a $1,000 deductible to save on the price of your policy.
Talking about for like collision? Or?
Right, yeah, sorry, for your collision and comprehensive coverage. So the coverage for damage to your vehicle. On the other end, there are options like your tort option. That's tort, T-O-R-T, your ability to sue another driver if you're injured in an accident. When we bring this up to a lot of people, they will say, "Well, I'm not really a sue-happy person, so I don't think I'll ever need this." And I appreciate that. I think that's how most people are. They're not out looking to get over on someone. But if you are ever seriously injured in an accident, or your family member is, in Pennsylvania, we have the ability to choose full or limited tort. Full tort is more expensive, but you get more with it, specifically the ability to sue for serious injuries, pain and suffering, and also future lost wages if you're severely injured. It usually costs several $100s more, but if you ever have to use it, you'll be very thankful you had it. There's also coverage for uninsured and underinsured motorists. Again, and underinsured. Someone without insurance who hurts you or a passenger in your vehicle in an accident. This coverage on your auto policy is dollar for dollar. There's no deductible. There's no copay. And you can stack it, meaning if you have multiple vehicles on your policy, you can combine the coverage from all the vehicles into one. So if you have a $100,000 coverage limit, 3 vehicles, that means you have $300,000 of coverage. These are the types of coverages where, again, if you're involved in one of those 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 accidents where you're very thankful you have them, they do cost more, but with what you get, the bang for your buck, I think it's worth it. So if you're looking to cut costs on your insurance, I would say try and stay away from those options if you can.
Right.
And look to deductibles and possible discounts that your insurance carrier offers to make up for it.
Yeah, I always thought about the idea that for the deductible, how much of a ding would throw in a grand on your credit card, when you go to the collision shop, right? Would that be a major hurt or kind of a inconvenience kind of thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that would be your deductible. Even if you didn't have any cash, of course, we need to say, please plan on 3 months of expenses
Right.
as your emergency fund. But, honestly, if a grand on your credit card wouldn't destroy you, maybe that's the safe bet to take that $1,000 deductible on your collision, right? I mean,
right. You get the immediate savings, and I always tell our customers, you got to do what you're able to and what you're comfortable with.
Right.
So try to go with the highest deductible that you're comfortable with to get those savings on your policy. And then also, if you take the attitude with your insurance, I have it for catastrophic issues, and maybe not even catastrophic, but if you have an accident where all of a sudden you have to pay $10,000 unexpectedly, then yes, the insurance makes sense and you want to use it. But with a higher deductible, you are hopefully avoiding turning in small claims. You're getting the immediate savings on your policy. And because you are not turning in those small claims year after year, you will be able to leverage better insurance rates either from your current carrier, or if you decide it's time to shop and call Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance, we can show the insurance carrier that you have a great claims history and high deductible to get you the best possible price.
all right. So let's let people know how they can reach Chris Hilling at Hilling-Pfeffer.
You can reach us at 814-870-3109. Our office is located in downtown Erie, 332 Holland Street at the corner of 4th and Holland next to St. Pat's Church, hilling-pfefferinsurance.com.
And mention all the lines that you, not the carriers, but the lines. It's life, it's homeowners. Talk about.
Right. So we're a full service shop, auto, home, business, life insurance. We also have a Medicare office that can help you with health insurance, your Medicare supplement plans, and employee benefits for the business owners out there.
And they will even walk you through the initial Medicare sign up stuff, right? I mean, it seems like they just are those experts when it comes to Medicare.
Right. That's a complicated process. I personally don't know much about it, but they do. And they're excellent. And we get rave reviews about how they really sit people down and hold your hand through that process, because it's a big, it's a big change when you get into Medicare.
I feel like these conversations are taking the anxiety out of talking about insurance. You know what I mean? We're informing folks, and this is a great amount of information that you're sharing with us. Chris Hilling, Hilling-Pfeffer Insurance. Thank you so much. What's the number one more time?
814-870-3109.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thank you.
More in a bit. It's Talk Erie.